Hey everybody, Shaman Hawk here for Shamanic Lodge. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the products, actually one product in particular today, about social programming. Three things that we have that are always there around people I work with, and anybody else could tell you the same thing really, is fear, guilt, and shame. These are the main blockages. One of the other blockages that is just right under those three is self-doubt. So when I'm telling people how to make their own divination set or how to create their own rune system or something to use for their fortune telling, giving readings, messages from spirits and so on, they just wonder, well, how do I know this would work? Why would this work? And it's so amazing to me how fast people are to give away their power to someone else or something else. So in other words, between doing the exercise of making your own tarot deck or your own runestone system, they'll turn around and go out and buy a deck, go to the local New Age store and buy one of these decks of cards that are mass produced in some shop, a printing shop or whatever, usually with cheap labor, cheap materials, toxic materials, and that is an instrument in which they will trust the decision-making process on their life. Or what's even worse, this is what they'll get paid to use to help other people make life-changing decisions about themselves. But no, to use your own system that you devised, that's no good. Let's just go trust the store-bought stuff. And the reality of it is, buying somebody else's deck, you don't know who that was. Now, it could be said that it comes from some big name in the New Age arena, but done by an artist. In other words, the New Age name, like if I said, yeah, Shaman Hawk tarot deck, if they came to me and like, hey, we got this cool pictures and everything that look kind of shamanic, hey, would you endorse this? And we'll give you like some royalties off that. If I was that kind of person, I'd say, yeah, sure, get paid. And I put the little description on each one. You see what I'm saying? But what if somebody else doesn't do that? They have no idea about readings. They have no idea about anything. Oh yeah, they channel the information. Slim possibility, I'll give you that. But why not trust yourself? And it's so amazing that people will express this doubt, that they don't think that they'll be able to create the deck. But then when they do, they're like, wow, I'm asking the questions. This stuff is like on point, man. Of course it is. It's you going deep into you to find out your stuff about your issues. How could it not work? How could it not? And I tell people, yeah, I have a runestones set that I made that I've used about 35 years. People say I do great readings. But the fact is, I'm not going to give you a better reading than you will. And the self-doubt that comes with all this, that I can't do it, mine won't be good enough, what if I'm wrong? You'll do that, but yet you'll go and just trust some random deck or a set of stones out of the New Age store? Really? Come on. I give people a lot more credit than they give themselves. I have worked these systems too much to think that it's just an impossibility for people, the everyday person that cannot do their own deck. And when I'm teaching people this stuff, I say that there's no wrong way to do this. Actually, there is. If you just think about it too much, you get so tangled up in your mind and your programming, you don't know if that's the right symbol to put down on your stones, if that's the right picture to draw on those cards that you made. Why isn't it? People, stop with the self-doubt. Experiment. And you have to also remember there's a huge difference between mistakes and miscalculations. People don't want to try new things because they're worried about making a mistake and they're worried about making a failure. Okay? There's a big difference between failure and temporary setback. Failure and, schedule change. Don't take it that seriously. If no one's going to die, if no one's going to lose a limb, or no one's going to suffer any kind of serious injuries or lose all their life savings, then don't really stress about it. But for trying to make something new, to try to do a new system, to try to give a new opinion, in a conversation, why not? People fear about the rejection, fear about being humiliated, feel about ridicule, feel about whatever. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Try things. I mean, we have to look at back when we were children learning how to walk. How many times did we face plant on the floor, fall off something when we're learning to climb, face plant and skittle on the ground when we're learning to run, do sports or anything like that? When we're children, that self-doubt is way in the background. For some reason, we get this belief system that once we're adults, we can't make any mistakes. We can't make any errors. I've recently, 30 years ago, I say recently, I started designing a way to build boats because I couldn't read the lofting plans. I just didn't have that math. I just didn't have that system. I'm thinking that neither did the Vikings. I don't think that the Phoenicians or anybody else were really good at this. I discovered so much about ancient boat building, and basically the system that I wanted to build was the original system. They built the skin first, and then they put the frame in it to go ahead and keep it in place. What we see is traditional boat building now. It was done by the Phoenicians for slave labor when they lost a lot of their sailors and boat builders in warfare. See? And that became the norm. The downgrade became the norm, and we're seeing a lot of that here in the 21st century. But the point of it is that everybody told me my system wouldn't work. So did my first boats fail? To some people, wow, you really screwed these up, Hawk. You wasted some material. You lost some money on that. Yeah, but I learned a lot in that process, and those miscalculations, they won't happen the next time. And they didn't. Yeah, I had a new set of miscalculations on the second boat. The third boat was nice. And then I just started making them bigger and bigger. And now I'm building one that's 32 feet. So, and with different procedures that I learned over those years. People will, after they know my history of boat building, they'll still tell me this one won't work. Okay, I'll send you a postcard. See? People say, do you have self-doubt? Yeah, I check myself constantly to make sure that am I doing this the right way? And even with this boat, I see things that I should have done differently, but it's not like it's going to make the design fail or anything. Let me explain the failure and miscalculation. So on my very, very first boat that I built, small one, just 8 feet, some things went wrong. It flipped over. It wasn't balanced right. It looked great on paper. It looked great in the picture. When I put it in water, sit in it, nope, didn't work. And then I learned why. Okay, that became firewood. Then people are like, well, that was a big mistake. No, that was a miscalculation. All the information I had available to me, I put to use. I just didn't put it to use in the best way. That won't happen again. If I did it the exact same way the next time and it did the same thing, that's failure. I knew better. You see the difference? If I did it the third time, I'm just fucking stupid. Shouldn't be allowed to use power tools or buy resins and glues or wood. So if you're not making the same miscalculations, then you're not making the same mistakes. It's not a failure. Okay? It was a setback. It's a minor setback, temporary setback. If you lose all your money, it could be a permanent setback. But we got to be clear on that. Do you have self-doubt? Okay, if I do the same thing again, it means that I'm not figuring things out. I doubt whether or not I can make sensible decisions. I'd have to go there. I don't have that. See, I'm confident that I will learn from my mistakes. So do I have doubt in myself? Not really. Do I think I know everything I want to know? Absolutely not. And now I can doubt a decision in timing, meaning that if I want to, I've helped one guy build one airplane, and I was a test pilot on it. That was interesting. And I doubt whether I doubt I could build a kit airplane by myself. Okay, people say, well, that's self-doubt. Yeah, but that's self-doubt because of my experience. I know as a carpenter, as a pilot, I can see a lot of areas where I would need guidance. So I doubt I could do that by myself. If I had no choice and I wanted to do this, could I? That's possible. I thought I was going to have help building this boat. And when I realized I wasn't going to have that, I doubted I was able to build that whole thing by myself, considering the things that I need to do. But I've devised other ways of working. It takes me longer to set up, longer to take down, a lot longer than it takes often to actually do the work needed. But I got over that because I came up with a solution. We have to get away from this self-doubt. We have to trust ourselves in our experimentation process, our exploration process, and we have to do this with a passion. When it comes not just to the readings, making the divination sets, people will doubt their gut feeling. They'll doubt their intuition. Am I really making, what will people think if I'm doing this? Who cares? If it really feels right to you, do it. If I was thinking about channeling today, and we have these groves of oak trees on the farm here, and I like to be in there. Today I was throwing out grass seed to rebuild the area, for feeding horses in the winter. And I love being in these two particular spots because that's where I can do my channeling. And I was thinking, some of the pictures I get, and then some of the relations of things that have happened afterwards, yeah, that's good examples, because I stopped working on the boat I had this panicked feeling. I just got to do big garden areas. And I was working on this, just working myself to death in the heat here in Central Texas on this. And then 2 months later, it was like, oh yeah, food chain interruption, food shortages coming, fuel shortages coming. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I was doing this. You see, I had no logical feeling to do it. That came after the fact. Now, a lot of people would doubt themselves. People would look at me like doubting whether I was on the mark or not, but whoo, I got lucky, right? These are the times when we have to be able to trust ourselves. These are the times when all of us are going to be going in different directions for different reasons. These are the times when we really have to strive to be unique. If we're going to get through these times and we want to be living examples for the people who watch us and the people who count on us, especially us men, we have families, we have community counting on us to get things done. The women are nurturing, not to say that women can't be building and doing all that too, but it's usually the men that are the flatline thinkers trying to make a decision, but we have to be able to trust our instincts on these things. And you can't self-doubt it. All right? If you guys have any comments, leave them in there, and I can make new videos on them. If you got, contact me. I try to answer everybody back. You can get me at shamaniclodge@gmail.com. Until then, keep going forward, people.